Hello there, and welcome to episode 1 of Press X to Continue for November 2024. This is a new gaming podcast, cross platform, with probably a focus on Nintendo and PlayStation, but I know Steam Decks are at least in one person's hands here, and so other platforms maybe as well. Joining us, the usual cast of characters for this show. It's myself, Tim Chan. You may have heard me on iPad Pros and Vision Pros, and I did an old Nintendo podcast that is now in hiatus called Club Nintendo. But also joining us today is Mr. Jason. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Tim?
You are muted, I believe, somehow.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're still muted. What happened? You were talking to us a moment ago.
Indeed, I was, and I haven't done anything on my end.
I hear everything.
He says he hears me.
What the? Well, why does this work pre-show? And Robbie, do you hear anything?
Yeah, I hear everyone.
And Robbie hears me.
Actually, okay, this may be on my end. Let me double check. Let's see. Okay, this is my audio hijacked my output.
Nice.
That's
what it's
you
there
know,
for.
this is the learning of episode 1. That
Absolutely.
how we doing, Jason?
I'm fantastic now that you can hear me. Well, I mean, I was good before you could hear me, but you know.
Yes. Oh gosh. And Robbie, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm great.
Good. So, introductions are in order, I would say. Jason, would you like to start with kind of your background in gaming and whatnot?
Absolutely. I'm an old school gamer. I don't know for certain, but I think I'm the oldest of the three of us, clocking in at 40 right now. So, and I've been there every step of the way. I was lucky enough as a military dependent to be born in Japan, so I literally grew up with the Nintendo, came to America, and I'm an amateur collector at this point because I still have all the old systems and most of the new ones. As a matter of fact, the Xbox series of machines is the only ones I don't have in the current generation.
Okay. How about you, Robbie?
Yeah, I mean, I started in the early 90s with a Game Boy and then became a Sega boy in the mid-90s. Really into Sonic the Hedgehog, and went with Sega through tough times. Committed to the 32X, the Saturn, the Dreamcast, and
Dreamcast.
really into
Genesis
the PlayStation 1.
Was a good one.
I love the Genesis. One of my favorite consoles of all time, as is the PlayStation 1, which I had.
Yep.
Did not game a lot in my high school years, but in college, started just like going on eBay and like collecting all the old Nintendo systems I never had, and haven't really stopped since. I'm happy to say that I've got up to date current generations of all consoles and a lot of thoughts and a lot of experiences. I'm really like in a part of my life where I'm gaming more than ever. So I'm excited to have an outlet for that.
Excellent. My background, so born 87. I had an NES as a kid, and then we got a Genesis at some point. Sonic and Knuckles with the Sonic 3 up top really blew my mind as a kid. That just like, wow, this is the future here.
Putting him into the all three of the games, the Knuckles add-on where you could play as him in all three. I too was a Sega fan, and if Sega had stayed around, I'd probably still be a Sega fan.
And then N64 was my jam. That was the big Christmas gift one of the years. And oh boy, did we put a lot of hours in the GoldenEye and Super Smash and Mario Kart, and such a great local multiplayer system. And I do have a pre-order for that HD one coming out next year, so I'm excited to do that. That's the one console I've been collecting as an adult, and have probably 150 of the 300 games for that console. So I've got a lot to see how they look in HD, I guess. And then I've got a PS2 was the next big one, and I have fond memories using that as a DVD player in my bedroom. Personal entertainment, and then all the Star Wars games for the PS2 is, as we'll talk about, I missed out on some great PS2 games as a kid. Played a bunch of Star Wars games on that machine, and then I skipped out on the 360 PS3 Wii generation during my college years. Somehow I didn't play any games really in mid to late high school and then all of college. And then as an adult, I made my triumphant return to gaming with the Wii U and the 3DS, and I was blown away by the Wii U. I was just delighted at Nintendo bringing joy into all their games. And that was a killer generation. I love the Wii U. I don't know any different.
I
games.
personally for myself bought 2 different Wii U's because I got the Zelda one, and my youngest daughter also had a Wii U. I agree. I loved that generation. I'm so disappointed that apparently everybody else didn't, because I loved it.
Yeah, I bought a Zelda gamepad. So I have a second gamepad. Went to eBay. I've got that. So I have 2 gamepads. Anyways, and then I ended up with an Xbox One and a PS4 and a Vita that I bought all in the same day at some crazy Target sale. I think I sent you this, Jason, at some point. It was 40% off.
I remember that day.
It's crazy. It's this is great. I'm stacking all these deals. It's 40 or 50% off all these systems. So, yeah. And then, I'm up to date with, I've got a Switch OLED, PS5 Pros we'll talk about, and I skipped Xbox this generation because my Xbox One ended up collecting dust by the end. So, that's where we're at with me.
I'm so happy to, at whatever point is relevant, tell you my thoughts on the Xbox current generation, which are mostly not very positive. But
I mean, let's just dive into that. I mean,
yeah,
why not?
Just jump right into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, I should say I've been kind of a PlayStation and a Nintendo guy ever since I started getting back into gaming in college. So around 2005. I've somehow skipped the PS2 generation, which I know I've missed.
Oh man.
That
was
a
DVD player, if not.
I know.
That's why it sold 150 million. DVD.
I missed it too. I only I have it now, but I had to buy it after the fact.
Yeah. I've got a lot of catching up to do one of these days. But I did play a lot of Xbox 360.
My catching up to do is PS3. So I got the PS3 Super Slim. It's hooked up to my gaming desk here, and as we'll talk about, I've been diving into Resistance Trilogy and all the PS3 exclusives I missed out on. There's a lot of those.
There's some great
that cell
stuff on
architecture
there.
makes it impossible to emulate. So you got to have that hardware. Anyways, thoughts?
Yeah,
current.
yeah. You were saying on Microsoft, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just so I really was into the 360 in college and did a lot of the multiplayer stuff and was into that. And then I skipped several generations. I just really have always loved PlayStation's exclusives, especially over the past 15 years, and same for Nintendo. But this past generation, I was okay, I was ready to I've been playing the Switch since it launched, and I was really ready to upgrade to this generation. I had some friends who were really into playing Halo, and I thought, you know what, if I'm gonna really sit in front of my TV and get a little bit back into console gaming and to that capacity, why don't I make this a social thing? And it just turns out I don't like Halo. I just don't like Halo. I don't like it. There's probably games in that genre I would like more. But I bought the thing.
I enjoyed the campaign of the Master Chief trilogy. I got that in the Xbox One back in the day, and God willing, in a year we'll have that on PlayStation, so you don't need an Xbox for Halo.
Yeah.
So, right,
yeah. I'm actually more on Tim's side there, Robbie, because what's funny is I don't like most shooter games, but I love me some Halo. I mean, it was just beautiful shooter. I loved the story of the verse and the lore up to a point. It got a little incoherent near the end, I think, but
I was nuts for the first 2. I played so much of that stuff in college, but I think at this point, I just don't think the current iteration of it, the atmosphere is not doing much for me. Everything, I just looking at cold, solid metal textures and
Fair.
Nondescript space helmets is just, I don't know. It's like if I'm going to do target practice with my friends and suck, which is what I do when I play Halo.
Yeah.
I'm like, give me some some warmth.
Yeah.
I played like 20 minutes of it on my phone through xCloud, and then it started buffering and I gave up. But yeah, it's funny, like with Call of Duty and stuff, I don't care about the multiplayer. I just like the campaigns. Like I'm weird like that. Like I'd love
Yeah, I played
the
those.
option
Those
just
were
to buy
great.
the campaigns. Like just don't
Or
have
heck,
the multiplayer.
on console, will they even let you only just install the campaign? Because on PC, they'll let you install the campaign or the multiplayer.
Oh, I don't know.
Because if they would at least let people do that on console, Jesus. I mean, because console
200
storage
gigabytes.
space.
What are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
So yeah, the current generation of Xboxes, you have the S, which is widely reported has sold the best,
But it's also
and-
dog water, according to most people. Like,
yeah.
it's great if all you want to do is play your Xbox One your last generation of content, but new games do not run well on it. They really underpowered their S.
And you need to double the price to put in a storage solution to install Call of Duty because is it 512? What's the storage on the sucker?
Oh, I don't know.
I have the on the S because I have the X. I think it's a terabyte.
Yeah, the X is a terabyte. And didn't they also announce a 2 terabyte Series X?
Yeah,
They
pretty
did
recently.
for $100 less than the Pro,
Yeah.
the PS5 Pro.
So I have
It's 512 gigabytes for the Series S, so that's like 2 games depending on what you're doing.
I guess to summarize, I think Game Pass is interesting. I enjoy it, but there's just not a whole lot of exclusive content on there. I think there's not a whole lot that I really love about the controller or the interface or the experience. Otherwise, I think Microsoft is tasteless. Sorry if that
Yeah.
upsets anyone. But
I was baffled that Microsoft still uses AA batteries and they charge you like $30 if you want a rechargeable charge
correct.
pack.
That is
Like,
correct. And I have
how is
already
that
had to send the controllers to into Microsoft 3 times since owning it, which I only got it about a year ago.
Wow.
send
So
them in because
major repair issues with those controllers.
Wow. And they didn't change controllers from like Xbox One to they changed like a button on there, but like it's like
Overwhelmingly, they've had the same design for generations at this point.
yeah, part of what is exciting about PS5 is the DualSense. Like it really does change a lot about games if implemented properly, as we may talk about with Astrobot. Yeah. But Xbox, I remember at Xbox One they were talking about the triggers with the Forza being, adaptive or something, and then it's like no one did anything with that, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, and this is why we're going to mostly be a Sony and Nintendo podcast, because there's just no enthusiasm for Microsoft right now, and that's all on them.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably eventually sell the thing. I bought it with a couple years of Game Pass, and there's a couple Game Pass games that are on there that I'd like to try to finish out before because I have several more months left that I sort of bought in advance. There was like some deal they were running. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff on there I'm gonna play. I might eventually sell it. There is one cool thing that it does, which is that it has this like feature that your state in each game saves, and then you jump right in. You don't have to like reboot the games, which
That is nice.
is a little buggy at times. But when it works, it's really actually kind of nice. It makes me sort of dread launching games on other consoles. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I'm a PlayStation boy, and that's why I bought a PS5 Pro.
Yeah, and you did an upgrade from PS4 to PS5
Yeah.
Pro. So you went with the Xbox Series X as like the first entry, because prior to that you had an older Xbox, or did the Xbox One feel more
I had a
of a
360
laggard?
most
You had a
recently.
360, so you didn't have a one. Okay.
So you upgrade different companies every generation, I guess.
Well, I've had every PlayStation since the only PlayStation I've never had is the 2. I have one now, but I haven't done any good work with it. I
Yeah.
gotta like go back and play everything I missed. So I don't know. This is I think the end. I mean, do you think Microsoft will even make another Xbox after this?
They've said they will, but
They have
everything's
said
an
that.
Xbox now. Everything's an Xbox. So I mean,
Yeah, that's just it. Is I wonder if they're going to their next sell is going to be we are officially launching a streaming console platform. You know, you will no longer need to buy new platforms. You will pay for a subscription to our online game platform that streams everything. That'll probably be their next final
I
generation.
I think they have one more hardware gen in them because I think they are too far along in development for that already to say let's. I think they have at
Fair.
least one more, and then maybe after that they do that.
Fair,
But
but if
they're also updating like Xbox One to be you can stream stuff here too. They're just like trying to make all the old stuff. Just pull out your dusty Xbox One and stream your stuff, and that'll be fine.
While fair, if the rumors about how much Sony lost on pulling the plug on Concord, which is in the neighborhood of $400 million, are true, I
Yeah.
don't think Microsoft is so far down the R&D hole on a new generation of console that they couldn't pull the plug on that.
That's true, but I don't know. I feel they have one more, and they're gonna try to beat PlayStation by a couple years to it as well to try to pull an Xbox 360 thing where we're first, and I don't think that matters at this point. So as
Not
we talked
anymore.
about, I'm not sure what I want from a PS6, but I'm happy for another a long while. I think.
Since you guys both have it, Rob upgrading from PS4 and Tim, you actually had a base. I don't have a Pro myself. How worthwhile is that upgrade? And because especially if they're gonna try and drive this along for another 4 or 5 years, you really think they're gonna push everything into Pro by the end of the lifespan?
I'll start from a PS5 perspective. I had the digital edition, so I bought it for $400. I waited in so many queues for that thing. I have
So many queues.
so many queues. I felt sad kind of parting with things. It's like I went through so much to get you, but yeah. So I traded in for $300, which is I thought a good return, especially since the Black Friday deals. Spend $75 more, you get a brand new Slim. So I thought that was, and they're selling my refurbished ones for $50 more than what I sold it for. So I thought that was pretty good. But anyways,
That's awesome.
yeah. As far as upgrading, like, it is a hell of a lot sleeker design, thinner, lighter, more powerful, an extra 1.2 terabytes of storage, which I have a 2 terabyte SSD installed on my PlayStation, and I was constantly filling up between the internal and the 2 terabytes. So I think that extra 1 terabyte plus will make me just not feel like let me upgrade to a 4 terabyte. So that is a nice upgrade as well. It was just more internal storage to mess around with. I also like the fact that if I wanted to get a disk drive at some point, I could now versus being locked into the pure digital. I don't have a disk drive yet, but I can now. So it's nice to have the flexibility.
Yeah, I'm a fan of physical media, so I just can't let myself get rid of disk drives on my stuff. But I will say I do like the way Sony handled it with and is the disk drive interchangeable, the same one for the slim or the
Yeah.
full size?
Yep.
Because that's even smarter.
Yeah, it's very smart with that. And then I have not yet played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm very excited to play that with the Pro because from what I've seen, it just ran like crap on the base. So I feel like there's not a ton of reasons today to be super excited by the Pro, except for new shiny, more storage, that kind of stuff. But we're starting, like, there are some games that are making really good advantage of it, like Rebirth, and I think the Ghost of Tsushima game will probably take advantage of it, the sequel coming out next year, and I think the second half of this generation will make that stuff shine. And then the other factor, of course, is I play at a gaming monitor at my desk a lot of times, so I'm very close to this nice 4K screen. So you see more stuff up close versus just on a couch, and if your TV's not that big, you may not see it as much. So it probably depends on your situation with that stuff too.
Yeah, that all tracks. For me, it's not as big a jump. Like in performance from having played the Xbox for the past year, but it's obviously a huge jump from the PS4. Even just one of the
Yeah, you didn't
one
have
of
the
the best
PS4
parts.
Pro. You went from base.
Yeah,
PS4.
from the base PS4.
Oh, you went from
So-
a jet engine.
Yeah, yeah. So the honestly, like USB-C is one of the best parts of the upgrade. I knew that would feel good.
Yeah.
Your thing, like with the 4K monitor, like I was listening to a recent episode of the Verge cast where they were like covering the PS5 Pro, and they said there's a couple reasons you might want this thing, and one of them was if you're sitting right in front of your monitor like that. And the other thing they said was that if you want to just keep reliving 1997 and experiencing what Final Fantasy VII felt like to play at the time, this is for you. And I was like, that's me. that game pretty much sold me on paying the extra for the Pro, because I know when I play it, I want it to not look blurry and weird like the screen stuff I've seen. So.
Yeah. And yeah, I also must say I really love the $30 stand that should have been included in the console. I'm sending Jason my old aftermarket stand. It's a great stand, but it's
No longer needed.
no longer needed, and it's a very elegant, shiny little stand. The one I had before was one that can charge controllers and stuff, and it was mainly designed. I mainly got it because the launch PS5 vertical stand that also works as a horizontal stand. Jason, you know this. That thing is a
it's-
piece of crap. I don't trust with my cat a vertical stand of that rigidity.
If I didn't have the dedicated gaming space that I have, I would not have used that. But luckily, I don't have single-digit children or animals that can jump on things. So,
Yeah, so the stand situation on the launch PS5, although great, it did both orientations. Yeah, not trustworthy in vertical at all. So this new stand is very nice, and it's backwards compatible. I have a little. The stand comes with a little adapter if you want to use it with the base PS5, which is kind of nice they did that. So
that's nice.
yeah. But outside that, it's interesting. We lost a USB-A port on the front of the console, and PS Link, their audio standard they developed a year ago plus, it kind of drives me insane they didn't build this into the Pro, because it's built into the PS Portal. You still need a USB-A dongle to use Link devices on the Pro. So annoying they didn't build that in. But in this process of needing to figure out how do I plug in this Link adapter when all my PSVR 1 devices are hogging my ports in the back, I discovered my Thunderbolt dock underneath my desk can be plugged into the PS5 Pro, and that Link adapter, racing rig, all that stuff just carries over through a single cable. And if you're gaming at a desk, it's so nice to discover I could just use that. And also the PS Link adapter makes it easy now. I can use it with my MacBook and stuff very easily because it's just in that same dock. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
I did get a warning today. I have too many USB devices with my PlayStation. I've only encountered that once, so I'm not sure what triggered that. But
I'm gonna be
there is a
honest.
limit, yeah.
Because there's a limit to ports, I wouldn't have even imagined there was something in the system to limit it some other way.
Yeah, there is. I'm not sure, what caused that. I rebooted the system aside after that, yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then PS5 Pro, there are some VR games that are taking good advantage of it that aren't advertised as. Like Vertigo was really struggling on the PS5 base with VR2, and it was like a game that went from people not recommending the play because it's just such a hot mess to, this actually runs really well and now. So the extra GPU power in some VR games, even without the official patches, are making a world of difference. So I'm excited to dive into some games I avoided before because that was the thing.
You haven't had a chance to dive into any of the VR games yet, really?
Except for Gran Turismo 7, which already looked great, but looks
Yeah, I mean,
better.
it's how do you already polish a diamond, you know? I mean,
yes.
Rob, are you a VR enthusiast, or do you do VR at all?
No, I mean I've played around with some stuff. I'm an Apple boy, so I think if I were gonna buy anything that was VR, it would be the Apple Vision Pro. But I've got maybe that's another podcast.
It is. I would say the Vision Pro is not a VR headset versus a spatial computer that can play some not so great games.
Yeah, I mean that's probably a good summary to leave it at
Yeah.
that. It's definitely not the gaming focus that I
Right,
think
right.
captures the spirit of your question. I mean, I would probably, if I bought one of these things, I would probably get a Meta something. I've had some fun playing with those. I would probably get the cheap one if I did. I don't know about like
Sure.
having an accessory to the PlayStation yet. I'm not 100% convinced that there's enough games on it. I would really want to take
There
advantage
is
of.
that. Do you have a gaming computer as well, Rig? No.
So not currently.
Okay. Because they have the adapter now, so you can use it on PC.
I'm gonna
Okay,
be honest.
interesting.
Without even talking about the adapter and going that direction, if you're really wanting games and a gaming experience, I'm actually gonna recommend the PSVR 2 over the Quest series. And I say that while knowing that there are a couple of Quest exclusives that we'll probably never see on PSVR 2 that are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But there are just more gamey games and meaty games on the system or on the platform that is made for a specifically game console. Now, if you want the other multimedia stuff built in with the VR headset, yeah, the Quest 3 is going to be a better option because there's very little in terms of multimedia use and playback and ability with the PSVR 2, in my opinion, especially comparatively.
Yeah, the reason I'll buy that is because we've sort of culturally agreed that this is what VR headsets are good at doing. So I can totally get behind the idea that if I bought one of these things, I would probably have to accept that I was going to game on it, and I would have to really think much more critically about what the PlayStation offerings are. Because I mean, yeah, the Meta stuff I've done is like very lackluster in the computing kind of aspect of it, even though that is also at the same time the appeal of it. It's like, okay, we're like a little bit more. But there's a reason I haven't bought any of these things,
Right.
because
And
it's the exact
especially
thing.
the price point for Black Friday and other every like twice a year they'll do the sale. It's at $350 now for the Horizon bundle, which is basically $300 for the headset, $50 game included. Killer price and a lot lower from what me and Jason paid. But I must say, yeah, Gran Turismo is worth it alone for that headset. It's so good in there.
Wow.
Whenever I have a spare moment that I can just escape into this world, it's so lovely just to drive around in VR. And then games like Resident Evil, like I'm sure Resident Evil 9, they'll have a VR mode at some point.
I'm really hoping.
But yeah, RE Village, RE4, amazing experiences. And the HDR screen is mind-boggling in that thing where you're looking at the sun and the racing, and you gotta look away because it's so bright kind of thing. Like,
I'm in a very modal era of computing right now, so like how like will I use this is why the Portal seems like a much more
Yes.
likely and appealing kind of purchase for me, is because like one kind of mode that I'm in is like, okay, I can game, but like my kid or my family is using the TV for something else,
yeah.
but I can game right now. Like, what do I do? And we can get into the Steam Deck in a little bit
Sure.
if you want to. But like that is one avenue I have been experiencing PlayStation and Xbox. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think like what is the role of something that's kind of isolating in my life right now, and that's
Yeah, you need to.
You need to
When
be
your family's out. That's when it's like, okay, I can finally do the
Right.
VR thing. Yeah.
and or have that dedicated space, because yeah, I'll be honest, it can be a hassle for setup or what have you, and it does. I mean, you may as well, for all intents and purposes, if you're really getting into it, you may as well not even be in the same room with or the same house with your family type of thing. But because of that, the immersion and time flow is just insane. Time just runs by you. I love having headphones on and playing puzzling pieces on PSVR 2 and just click, 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 putting together virtual puzzles, and time just screams by me.
Yeah. And I'm very excited for the Alien game coming out in December. That is going to be a wild experience. I'm very excited.
I'm not sure your heart can handle it.
Yeah. But yeah, great price on PSVR 2. I don't know what their margins are on this headset. Like, it's expensive tech in there, but I don't know if it's gotten cheaper over the years and if they're selling this at cost at this point or what what they're it's a loss, and they're just sitting on a bunch of these. I don't know. 'Cause-
Yeah, because it also doesn't. As much as I love it, it's one of those things. It's just like PSVR one. I wish it got more support from Sony.
Yeah, it's. I wish Sony. Well, this year it was like Sony partnered with third parties to make sure they had games, and they did some of that with PSVR 2 with like Metro Awakening and some of the other games. But yeah, I'm curious the second half of the generation if they'll have any first party stuff because they've been holding out on their regular flat screen games with first party too. Like it's been a while. So, anyways, yeah. Do we want to talk about the 30th anniversary stuff at all?
We were already kind of touching on it. You have stuff to show off and be proud of, anyways.
I do. I got my order in. I've got the Sense and I got the Portal. 30th
So pretty.
anniversary. So pretty. All the little touches, so nice. And then I just want to. The aggravating part with this whole thing, like. Why? So they released the PS5 Pro same day or whatever as this, or close to. I understand the special limited quantities of 12,300, but I would have loved if they released. We're going to offer the Pro in unlimited quantities with this styling. And then there's a special limited version that's numbered and has some extra accoutrements.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the PS5 Slim too. It's so impossible to find. Why not just like you're Luigi back when Nintendo was doing. You could buy the Luigi game or whatever the whole year long. It's a year-long celebration versus this like madhouse that's reminiscent of the PS5 launch back in 2020. Like, yeah.
Yeah, they. While I wished it was a larger limited quantity, and I understand why it is that limited quantity, I'm not entirely with you there that I'm glad it wasn't available full year or anything like that. But I do wish it would have been a higher quantity, and or I'm personally getting tired of Sony having these direct to them queues and ordering through them. I guess I'm just old enough. I want to be able to have a chance to go to a store and be like, holy crap, my store got one in, and have to decide right then and there. That's what happened with my Wii. I mean, in the when the Wii came out, you didn't have a decision. You didn't have time to make a decision. When that thing came out, it was yes or no. Am I buying this?
Yeah.
And I wish I could do that.
Or if the direct was like, place your order to this week and we'll make as many as we get orders for, kind of thing.
Any number of ways other than how they have handled or have it would have been better. And also, like, I love some of the accessories. There's no reason those accessories needed to be limited.
The cable. Yeah. Why
Thank
not
you.
sell that cable?
That cable is just magnificent.
It really is.
Have you unboxed to the point to get to the cable?
It does not include the cable. You have to buy a console for that.
Oh, okay.
The Portal, it's interesting. The Portal includes a little special insignia of the 30th with the symbols on it, and the Edge controller includes a gray cable, but no 30th emblem. So it's slightly different, but yeah, the only special cables with the console, sadly.
Well, for anybody that doesn't know, then, the cable was designed that the actual USB-C end looked like the end of an old memory card cartridge from the PlayStation 1. Or not even a memory card, the actual cable. The controller itself also had a little dongle on it. I forgot. It has been a minute.
Yeah.
And it was designed to look like that. And there's no reason that you can't just make that cable for people. It looks cool.
Totally. Yeah. But yeah, it's very well thought of packaging, everything. I'm glad, I managed to get through the direct queue on that day and get the Portal and I've never had an Edge controller, so the Edge controller, it's heavy. I'm noticing it is definitely heavier, and it's nice to have a controller I can swap out the sticks with, so this theoretically is the one and last controller I'll need to buy.
I don't remember. What's the price tag on the Edge?
$220 for the special edition, but normally $200.
I want you to really use that and tell us if you really think it's a worthwhile $200. Because I mean,
versus $80 for the
Yeah.
normal one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, heck, can't you usually get them about 70 these days? I mean, we're still
Yeah.
even 80 is still almost or less than half, but at 70, heck, that's almost 3 times the cost of the controller.
It is, yeah. And I'll be super curious. PS6, $200 controllers. Does that change their equation of forwards compatibility with this stuff? Will we see a DualSense 2 that's radically different that breaks compatibility? Sony tends to like to have each generation have unique controllers that don't work going forward. So that'll be curious to see.
So, while Sony is not a Nintendo who drastically reinvents the controllers so there's no way to handle them between generations, I'll at least give Sony credit that the way I expect their next controller will, while not be backwards compatible on the console, it will do all of the functions without having to have a DualSense controller. Meaning your PS6 controller will play your PS5 games as if they were on a PS5 controller, but it will have additional features that are just not available in those games.
Like you can use the DualShock 4 on the PS5 and play PS4 games that way. And you can play I think you can play PS4 games with the DualSense. Heck, you can hook up Move controllers to your PS5 for VR1 games, which is interesting. So yeah, it'll be curious to see how they handle PS6 with the controllers. But yeah, 30th anniversary, cool stuff. I just wish there was more quantity or it was handled better. Just order this week and we'll ship one to you, but not the case. I was very tempted to just do a 30th anniversary Slim, try to get one of those instead of the PS5 Pro, but I thought better. It's like, that's a waste of money. It looks cool, but let's actually get a hardware upgrade.
Thank you. If you're going to spend the money, get the power of the Pro. Don't just upgrade for pretty. At least not right now.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah.
That having been said, Rob, you mentioned Final Fantasy VII is what made you want to get the Pro and everything because you played the original back in the day.
Yeah.
Did you play a lot of JRPGs, or was Final Fantasy VII, like a lot of people, one of their first big ones?
I think it was probably one of my first big ones, if not the first big one. I had tried stuff before that, but nothing that would really stick until the Final Fantasy series.
Oh, did you stick with the series, or did you dip in at 7 and dip out? I mean, do you still play Final Fantasy games?
I did 8. I did 12. I did 13. It's been a mixed bag which ones I've done that have been good. I think 12 is one of my favorites since 7. Let's see. I haven't. No, yeah, so that's it. I've done. So what did I say? 7, 8, 10, 12 have been the ones that I've played. I know 9 and 10 are two of the best in the series, so I got to go back and do them at some point.
Would it depress you that 16 was my very first game in the series?
Not at all. I hear it's actually pretty decent.
It's good.
I hear it's described a lot as like one of the best C+ games you can play in the series.
It is. If Square Enix made an interactive Game of Thrones story, that's what it is. It has the same energy and feel and just the political what's going on behind the scenes and everything. It was a very enjoyable game.
Some crazy boss fights.
My interpretation from what I've read is that the stuff about the game that's most criticized is just the tedious side stuff, but that it's mostly skippable. Is that your experience?
100%. But while all the side stuff is skippable, I didn't skip any of it because I found it all so easy. And when I play games, I will play 100% until I drop the game, because usually that's what happens with me. I don't complete a lot of games, but I am going into that game and I am opening every door and checking every box type of thing. And the side quests, I had no problem doing them. They were a little repetitive, but they were also extraordinarily easy, so I didn't mind the repetition, and I like grinding in my JRPGs.
And I haven't played Rebirth yet at all, but something I really liked about Remake. I know people have very different feelings about this. I do like some of the stuff about traditional JRPGs, but I thought that Remake had a really, really well thought out and balanced system for like combat. Like the stuff that's like hack and slash, the stuff that's in menus just felt super balanced to me. It was a little longer, just a little. It was like the beginning of the COVID lockdown in this area, so like I was willing to sink more time into it than maybe I would today. But I did pretty much everything that game had to offer. So I'm fully looking forward to just like completely sinking into this sequel when I get the chance.
Yeah, here with Rebirth, if you do everything, you might go insane because it's so much stuff in there.
I don't mean everything. I'm just saying like
Yeah.
the obvious side
Now,
options.
I've played 4 hours or so of Remake. I need to dip back into that because I do want to get the Rebirth. I'm curious. I haven't seen this asked elsewhere. There's no save file transfer. Like, you finish Remake 1. There's no... You played this and there's no character progression. It's just like your character's back at level 1 for...
My understanding is that it's just a new game.
Do you think that's a missed opportunity with like doing the Mass Effect thing where your save files going between this whole trilogy?
Until I get a chance to dip my toes into how they handle remake, because or not remake,
Yeah, Rebirth.
Rebirth, excuse me. Yes, I'll think it is a missed opportunity, but right now, I personally, based off of what I feel, I think Square Enix has been back in good form. I enjoyed 15. I enjoyed 16. I guess I'm in the minority for enjoying both of those games, and I enjoyed Remake. So without knowing how they handle it in Rebirth, while I am a little unhappy, I'll give them benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. No, I've heard great things. Excited to dive into it after I get through a very long game of Remake, so it'll be a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Robbie, jumping from PS4 base to PS5 Pro, I remember with me that SSD was like a noticeable thing, and then the DualSense. Like, what are the immediate, like, wow, this is a generational leap for me here?
Yeah, so I feel like some of the stuff I'm getting with the generational leap, I did experience with the Xbox purchase last fall. But I just didn't. I just found again like so much of it lacking in taste. Like I just love Sony's interface. I think interacting with the store is a cleaner experience. I like the way that the PS4 games and saves work really well over the cloud. I'm currently subscribed to the PS Extra, and I'm really enjoying playing some of the games on there. And I think that is handled. I don't know. The whole thing is just a little bit more intuitive. It's a little cleaner. It's a little bit more out of the way. Stuff is less buggy. There's just like bugs over on Microsoft.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's been a little bit of an incremental thing because I'm not like experiencing all of the graphical power of it as like a new generation.
Isn't Extra such a great deal for someone that's brand new to the PS5? Like it seems like there's a ton of games there.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there that is exactly the stuff that I bought the console to play. So like Demon's Souls I probably put about like 7 hours into that, and I knew that would be like one of the first things I wanted to do on the console. But I'm also playing the Plucky Squire, and my wife is like playing it with me. So, and that's nothing to write home about, but it's like the kind of game that I kind of I don't know if like now that I'm playing it, I'm enjoying it, but I don't know if I would have like wanted to spend like $30 on the Switch copy.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. And the look of the console, what do you think of this thing? Is it vertical or horizontal for you?
Oh, I have no choice. It's got to be horizontal.
Okay.
That's the only way
it's funny. I have no choice. It has to be vertical because I'm at a desk and I can't put a monitor on top of this thing.
We both agree that it looks really out of place in our home media setup, but I kind of appreciate that it has an opinion to the design of it. Yeah. When I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's a thing. I bought a thing. Like,
it makes a statement with its design.
It's definitely Sony really like we're gonna make a V for 5, and that's what it is. Like every other console. PS2 is written PS2, PS3 is written PS3. This is the first one I don't think anywhere in the console it's not written PS5 PlayStation 5 anywhere on it. It's just like we made a V so you know it's a 5. Right?
I don't quite see it that way, but I liked it. I will say I'm more surprised. I've gotten used to the size of it because I can still remember the first time you physically see the PS5 in person. It's a monster. It really is.
Yeah. and it's so heavy, that original model, that fat boy. But I love it vertical, but I understand space way is just hard to do that in many situations.
I got to rethink my setup too, because where I put it, like I have to sort of like take apart the whole entertainment, like the backsplash behind the TV and everything, to do it the way I really long term want to have it. So where it is now is like, it's even like, if you can believe this, sharing a slot. Like there's like little like kind of rectangular slots in our, and I was like, this one obviously needs its own slot, but it's kind of shoved right next to the we have like one of our HDMI inputs has a splitter, which a couple of different things are going into, and they should not be sharing the same slot. But this was the only way I could avoid going behind the TV to rewire everything when I plugged it in. So
gotcha.
Partial.
So I have to admit
laziness.
something slightly embarrassing. When I was installing my SSD into my PS5 Pro, I was trying to get the plate back on, and I didn't. So in the original PS5, everything just snapped in, right? PS5 Pro, half of it snaps in, half of it kind of slides under first. I didn't really understand that fully. So I had to like manually bend back some of those clips to be able to slide in properly. So my brand new PS5 Pro has damaged plates under. It's all locked in and looking nice now, but I know underneath there the clips are not pristine anymore. And I called Sony because I got another PSVR 1 adapter. I figured I bought a Pro. I can use that serial number to give me a backup adapter. And then I asked them, this plate, it's damaged. Can I get a replacement? I'll pay for it. And said, actually, we don't have access to PS5 Pro plates. You have to wait until Direct at PlayStation sells them, and you can buy a whole new batch of them, which seems very wasteful because I only need one of the 4 plates. But support has no access to these things, which
That is wild.
That's mind-boggling, right?
Wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so stupid. I might call a different person, see if a different story in a month or so. We'll see. Maybe they're just like, once Direct has them, maybe they'll have inventory there too for support requests. But yeah, crazy. So be careful when installing the space plates. It always felt dirty doing in the like, no matter how you do these, the original PS5 and the Pro, it feels like you're breaking something all the time with the loud. You've done this, Jay. Have you done this? Have you upgraded your SSD in yours?
No, but I have opened it up. I know what you mean. And several consoles, the way the clips are, they make loud pops
And
putting
you gotta
stuff in.
yank it off with strength and force. Like, oh my gosh, this seems
At
bad.
least the first time, but then it's like, if you're lucky and you get it off and you don't damage anything, and when you're putting it on, usually putting it back on, it makes more sense how to take it off next time.
Yeah. And then so when I was struggling, I looked at the other side of my console and was very carefully. Oh, that's how you do it. Okay. So now I figured it out. But I love the plate system, but it's kind of annoying how this one was bent a little bit. Anyways, kind of embarrassing as well.
Is it the one that's bent? Is it the one that if you bought the disk drive, it would go there?
Nope. Different part of the console. So
It would have been an easy fix.
that would have been super easy, yeah. And super annoying how the slim plates are just slightly different from the Pro plates. I don't know what engineering didn't figure out how to. Cause you have the 3 blades in there. I thought, they have the 3 blades, so it'd be rough. It's roughly the same height. I thought it's like, that's so they could share plates, but no, they have a whole new set of plates. Yeah. And then, Robbie, you've probably seen the reports of some games where the PSR, the PSSR AI upscaling, is making base PS5 run some games better in some ways. So Jedi Survivor, Alan Wake 2 are the games that come to mind where... and Silent Hill 2. They've got some gnarly stuff going on that the developers really need to patch. Or I noticed Gran Turismo 7, they have an option to turn PSSR on and off. I don't know why that's not a system-wide thing where the user could enable that or de-able that, So yeah, that I thought was concerning that QA isn't really doing their job properly to compare. What's this look like when we turn this on or off? Is it improving or hurting things?
Are there any games you've played where you've noticed that in effect to begin with? Because I just don't really feel
Not
like I have
yet, because as we'll talk about, I've mainly been playing on the Vita and PS3 as I've been going through the Metal Gear Solid series right now. Yeah. But yeah, it's concerning, and yeah, hopefully this is just early. We're part of the beta testers, and hopefully, in a month or two, they'll figure this stuff out.
Until you used it, I had totally forgotten they announced their PSSR or whatever that was, that of course everybody is going to refer to as Pisser.
Yes.
I had totally, such a drop in the bucket announcement, and I'm glad you brought that back up.
That's what it is. It's yeah. But I just thought that was wild that that's a thing. And there's a lot of there's a new option to upscale PS4 games, which is cool. Bloodborne looks slightly better.
Do I need to turn that on manually?
You do. It's in the settings. You need to turn it on manually. It
Write
sadly
that
does
down.
not work for PS VR 1 games because the games have to be rendered in, I think, 1080p. And the VR games are less than or the resolution doesn't match or whatever, where it doesn't affect all PS4 games, but only games of a certain resolution.
Damn.
Yeah, because that would have been cool to see PSVR 1 games upscaled a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
PS Portal cloud streaming.
Right.
That's a thing.
Yeah, that was exciting for me as a non-Portal owner, but it made me think, maybe.
Made you think, I guess I'm not going to be a non-Portal owner much longer.
Maybe not. I bought just a couple months ago a used Steam Deck from a friend of mine, and I really love it. I'm like, never thought I would be like. I tried to do like Steam on the TV back in 2011, like by plugging a homemade PC into my TV, and I remember one night spending like 5 hours trying to figure out how to get the aspect ratio of Civilization 5 to look good on my exact generation of Sony Bravia TV, and finally finding the checkbox deep in the ancient settings of Windows, and being so happy. And then right at that moment, it's like 11:30 p.m. I'm about to start a campaign, and then like my keyboard like runs out of batteries that I'm using like on my coffee table, and this is
why I don't do PC gaming.
Well, and then they made that little, early. They were very early to the game streaming with that little puck you could stick into your HDMI. And I tried that. I bought the controller, and it just wasn't there yet. Like the color was off. My internet connection was not fast enough. There's just so much they had not ironed out. So I was just like, you know what? I'm not a PC gamer, and so I haven't like really touched Steam OS. But of course, I've heard lots of good things. And every time I hear something good about the Steam Deck, I wonder, how can it possibly be good? and when
I hear Steam Deck's cool, it's like, great, but I have Nintendo. I've got I don't need a third library where I'm buying different games.
I don't need one either, but I already have bought so many games on Steam. So this friend of mine sold it to me for so cheap that I was just like, the thing that like eventually made me crack is that a friend of mine has been really bothering me to start playing Stardew Valley, and so my wife is into cozy gaming. We bought it both on our Steam accounts, and we've been with like remote playing Stardew Valley on a farm with this friend of ours.
Nice.
And we just I just decided this would be the most fun way to play this game, which is a really silly reason to spend hundreds of dollars on a Steam Deck.
Not at all. Not at all. That is a perfect reason. As a matter of fact, I totally support buying any console just for one game. One game justifies that purchase.
Well, the question was like
on the Switch.
Yeah, the question was: are we going to convince our PC playing friend to get a Switch, or are we going to get the PC version? And my wife wanted to do the mods. I'm like, you want to do mods? What? Where's this coming from?
Do you even know that word?
So I got it, and the thing honestly rocks. Like it's like a very well developed operating system. It feels buttery smooth. The games launch great. The running Linux in desktop mode is cool. Of course, the first thing I did with it was not game. I did fiddly stuff. So like I an Xbox and a PS streaming client on it. I downloaded this emulation suite, which like has an emulator for almost every. I think every. Actually, can't think of anything it does not emulate. But what's cool is that in the case of these streaming clients and these emulation platforms, all of the games and streaming apps show up like right alongside your Steam library games. So like once you get it all, set up, then you don't actually have to ever leave SteamOS, which is cool. You can even because you have to end up doing a lot of custom artwork to make it look nice. There's even like a plugin system. Like somebody has like written a Linux plugin for SteamOS where you can like augment the operating system. And I was thinking it was going to be gross and graphically unappealing, but it actually like all the plugins that you can install look like they're native to the OS. So like I got a plugin that lets you change your art based on like you have a folder in Linux desktop mode of artwork, and they even have like a user community submitted series of artwork. So like I was playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is I got
Funny that we mentioned that.
well, I said I was a Sonic boy, so I got to just say like I've been really disappointed with the Switch release from several years ago because it does not have the original soundtrack. And it's because my Wii U, when I bought it, I had to sell my Wii to rationalize that purchase. I can't play my Sonic Gems collection on the GameCube. This is a long way of saying I don't have a very convenient way of playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles with the original soundtrack at this time in my life. But now I do. I have the ROM. So, of course, because this is not really like a game you could buy, it's 2 games, there's no official artwork, so I had to go into the Steam plugin, and it was just a couple of nice little like selections from menus, and like all the like there's like 6 or 7 different options for the artwork, and the user community had submitted like a thumbnail, but then like a landscape one that you kind of see in the back, like they're all of these Sonic 3 and Knuckles custom fan art things, and I just like plugged them right into my ROM, and the game shows up right alongside my Steam purchases, like my Stardew and my, Crusader Kings and all that stuff.
Well, I still have a Steam Deck want myself, and when or if I get one, I will definitely be hitting you up for some recommendations on some setup stuff, because that sounds like some of the pro level stuff I'm going to need some real help with.
It really can do anything, and honestly, it's like really big and chunky, but it's like more comfortable to hold than a Switch. So even though it's heavier, I feel like I could just hold it forever.
That's wild to me.
Here's what I'll tell you. I don't. Jason, do you play the Souls stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm a new Souls boy. Elden Ring was my like last fall. That was like my beginning of my journey.
Me too. Elden Ring got me into Souls games, and then that entire year afterwards, leading up to the birth of my daughter, I mainlined and platinumed every Souls game except for Dark Souls 3. That was quite the year.
Here's what I can tell you about the comfort of the Steam Deck and the responsiveness of the PS streaming app that I like, the client that I installed on.
Yeah.
Reliable and comfortable enough that I beat Sister Freed on the Steam Deck.
Impressive.
And I suck at Souls games.
I beat one of the Souls bosses remotely over PS streaming, where my PlayStation was at home and I was at work some like 30 miles away, which I thought was impressive and cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, right?
The stream to your Steam Deck that you were using there, Robbie, does that require internet? And I say that, can you have a Wi-Fi network that has no outside internet access and run that setup at home to get the benefits of that?
My understanding, so I set it up for the 4, so I got to do some tweaking to get it up and running with the PS5. My understanding is that the way I set up my install, that the PS4 you've got to be on the same home network, but that the PS5 you don't. And actually, there might be other ways you can do the setup, or other clients altogether that could let you like be on any other Wi-Fi network anywhere in the world.
Yeah, actually,
I think internet data is required even locally, but I'm not positive.
Because like I am well tech aware, but there's just so much tech and I guess so much noise in my house that even though I have gigabit fiber optic coming into the house and my Mac Mini, which is hardlined in, literally will pull speeds 800, 900 megabits, which you never get your full speed, but damn if that's not close enough to make me happy. But when I'm trying to stream on my network, like wireless streaming, remote play with a Vita, or even trying to use the remote play app, it just chokes and dies.
So I have my PS plugged right into the
Hardline, yep.
So yeah. So okay. So if you got that, I don't know. This stuff never worked for me until I did that. But maybe I don't know. Maybe so there's something. The people who built this client for the Steam Deck just did a nice job. I don't know. It's hard to say because all I've ever done before is stream to my iPad with a third-party controller linked up, and that's just too many. There's just like so many in betweens. It's like I'm doing the Bluetooth connection from the controller.
Yeah.
I'm over Wi-Fi. Like that's never worked super well for me.
And I'll be curious with the cloud streaming on the Portal. You're connecting to Sony's servers versus needing your own home PlayStation to be the server. I'm curious. That might be a better streaming quality. I've seen people that have used it. They say the quality's great. The latency's a tad worse from what they're used to, but it's still beta and stuff. But I'm curious that remote play may suck for you, but the cloud streaming may work better. Like it really depends on your setup and everything, right?
Something I'd love to know from you once you've played with it a little bit more is like for me. So when I do the same exact setup but with the Xbox, like a lot of the Xbox Game Pass games do, go over the cloud straight to whatever, like my iPad or my phone or something. But I have found that I actually prefer to stream from the console.
Normally, I would too, right? Yeah.
The main reason being that like games where maybe they're not like frequent save points. When I need to pause my game, which is frequently, basically the console just goes idle, and then it's like right there where I left off. Whereas like
the server shutting off and
like if I'm playing Persona 3 on my phone and I'm like in the middle of a dungeon and then I get a phone call or like my Wi-Fi gets bad for a second, like I'm just done with the session. It's over. I'm like kicked out, no save, no nothing.
Yeah, I want to test that. Like, what happens if you terminate a session before saving? Like, will it figure that out at all, or no? Yeah. But
that'll be curious.
It's super interesting the direction of Sony, because the same week that Sony announced Portal streaming is the same week Xbox announced we're finally rolling out streaming your game purchases, on Xbox. Like, okay. And then in Sony's same blog post, they mention the stuff not including the beta, but stuff they want to do includes streaming games purchased on the PS Store, which sounds like they want to eventually stream every single game you buy. And then additionally, streaming games are currently limited to PS5 games, but they want to do PS4 and PS3 games. So their end goal, I think, is any game you can buy on PlayStation Store, you can stream. How wild would it be if they opened up the PS3 store again, but it's just streaming any game from PS3? That would be interesting.
Maybe it'll be faster than the PS3 servers were at the time of the PS3. Because, boy, downloading games on the PS3 took a mortal age. Their networks were so slow.
Yeah, so slow. Yeah. Oh. But yeah, it's just super interesting this direction of, like, you don't even need a console with this Portal now. You can just have premium and stream these games directly to the system. It'll save your data and all that. And so, yeah, it's just interesting. In like 5 years, will this be a viable option where you can just buy stuff and stream it?
Well, it's funny talking about both Sony and Nintendo because while similar, they kind of have different approaches. Because Nintendo doesn't stream. They just made their whole system the same size as the Sony streaming system. I mean...
And you can buy streaming games on the Switch store, which seems like such a terrible idea.
What are there, like 4 or 5 of them, and there's so few of them that every single one of them feels like a check the block release.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, it's on Switch because it's on streaming. Sure, okay. But yeah, and there's been rumors Sony's working on like a PS5 handheld or PS4 handheld, and that'll be a cool addition to their hardware lineup if they do make another handheld that can actually play games locally too, because that will be nice.
I don't know, with 2 products that I love, but to hear people talk about it, it's like Sony considers them failures. The PSP and the PS Vita, I mean, they didn't get love. They didn't get a whole lot to them. I'd be surprised if Sony takes yet another dip into the portable market.
The only thing I think has changed is a Switch is a game-changing device that's so popular, and the Steam Deck and all the knockoffs. Like, I think they're seeing a market that's opening up, and they're getting to the point where the tech is, where the PSP and Vita, you needed unique games versus just running a PS3 game on the Vita. If you can run the same game, we don't have the VR problem of we need to develop unique games for VR. If you can run a PS4 or PS5 game directly with no extra work, then it's opening up more hardware for the same software they're already investing in. So that's the difference, I think. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah. Anything else on cloud streaming before we? No. Okay, let's wrap up with just what we're playing. Jason, do you want to start on your list here?
Sure. Actually, I've only got a couple of games. One I'm playing on Switch. One is available on Switch. I'm just playing on iOS. I'll talk about the one on Switch first. I'm playing Unicorn Overlord, like a lot of people from earlier in the year. I'm going to be honest with you, though. The art style I absolutely love. The nature of gameplay itself I love. But it's just... I don't know if it's too simple. I'm not digging into it as well as I have other meaty tactical RPG games like this. The basic the basic combat structure is you create individual teams that have different front row, back row, mid row, and different class combinations and everything, and where you place them, they auto fight when they run into another unit. And there's a little bit of the Fire Emblem style one weapon is weapon triangle system, where this is better than this is better than this, so on and so forth. That it's so many layers to it, and the way that different characters in different positions modify it. It should be right up my alley, but I care more about the classes and abilities than I do about did I put all my toys in the right order so that when they play with themselves, they do the right thing. It sadly is not clicking like I would like in this kind of game. Which is a shame because I really wanted something like this. It's a more modern of the Ogre Battle series, which was on Super Nintendo, and then they released Ogre Battle 64 on N64, which another great entry in that. So I was hoping for something along those lines, but it just didn't work for me.
That's a shame.
Yeah. I would love to actually ask you about this too, because I played about maybe 20 hours of the game at the end of June last year, and I felt like it was way too easy. And then at around hour 20, it all of a sudden got kind of like way too hard. But I never felt like it eased me into like here's how. It never really I never felt like I needed to understand the scripting aspect of the combat and the way that I put my squads together. Is that the technical term? Squads. Until it got to this point, and then all of a sudden I needed to know everything, and I just didn't. That line somehow that lost me, because I otherwise love the concept. It's not unlike Final Fantasy 12 in that it's you have this automation aspect. Tim, it's shortcuts the game.
Yeah,
basically, yeah. I think that's appealing, but I don't know. That's where I got lost.
Actually, I love that in Final Fantasy 12, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah, and I either, and I know I've put more than 20 hours into the game, though I don't have my save file in front of me, but either I have not gotten to the difficulty ramp that you're talking about, or I still managed to breeze through it, because that's part of my problem, is it just... I feel like even if I don't fully understand the formation systems, it's too easy. I move some troops around, I do a couple attempts, and it's just... every map is a case of I put my units onto the map, and then they just, like sheepdogs, herd the enemies to death. And there's not much challenge to them, which is a shame. Good story, beautiful looking game. But
it's beautiful. I love the way they animate the food, and I love hanging out in the towns. Fire Emblem the Three Houses I loved, but this was it for me. Like I never felt like it made me learn the tactics. I just
Yeah.
kind of like ran towards the enemies the whole game. Like,
100%.
hacked them up.
So, other than that, the other game I'm playing, which again, it's available on Switch, though I'm not playing on Switch, is Balatro. And look, for anybody that hasn't heard it anywhere else, I am gonna reaffirm what everybody else is saying. This game is absolutely phenomenal. What I will say that I don't think I've heard anybody else say is, boy, it almost feels like this game has some Nintendo magic because it breaks outside of traditional gaming audiences. My mother is, an older woman, and she does not play video games. And I was talking to her about it, and because it's available on Apple Arcade, she downloaded it and was sending me text messages cussing me out for giving her such an addictive game. Basic premise is you're playing poker, one versus one heads up poker, trying to get to high scores. Have both of you played the game? Have either of you played the game?
Yes, I've played probably 10 rounds, and it's an addictive game. I've tried to make sure I don't get too addicted to it, though.
Oh, I was about to say, how can you say you've played 10 rounds and it's addictive until you tell me that you know it's addictive and you're trying
I know it is. Yes.
That's where I am. I'm not quite addicted yet either.
I bought it for $10 on Apple versus I didn't have Arcade at the time, so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm so glad it's on Apple Arcade because it prevented me from having to buy it, though I may buy it on Switch just to give the developers some money because I feel the game is entirely worth supporting.
Yeah. So I bought it on iOS, so I'm not locked into the subscription, and it's like, okay, I've got this now.
Yeah, I highly recommend. I guess both of you see the addiction and chose to walk away, whereas I do enjoy going to a casino once in a while, so no surprise.
I've got it like on one of my like screens of my phone, like it is an aspirational home screen placement. I just haven't like gotten broken into that point yet where it's like clicked for me.
So okay, if you guys haven't played. Yeah, Tim, you played 10 rounds. I don't know how much you played. As you play, you unlock additional decks, and there will be special decks that you can get. And my favorite deck, I don't even know the name of it, but it is 26 hearts and 26 spades. No clubs and no diamonds. So they really play around with these deck compositions and stuff like that. But also in true roguelite fashion, after you beat it, you can put it... like on Demon's Souls, there's a new game plus, and then a new game plus plus, and a new game plus plus plus. And I think I'm only on the 4th layer deep at this point. I've successfully beaten it, I believe, 3 times with my preferred deck. That's how much I enjoy the game.
Nice.
Very cool. At some point, I'm gonna dive deeper into that.
I don't blame you if you want to walk away before you even get in because you're worried, because it is addictive. And I love it. And I can't even say that the games necessarily are fast, because when you get a good run, no, I mean you're playing cards. And for me, again, because I'm playing on iOS, I was telling you before the show, I actually love. I'll put this on the treadmill, or excuse me, on the elliptical on the shelf while I'm at the gym on the elliptical, and it's actually fun to do because it takes so much focus trying to figure out what I want to do in Balatro that it takes my brain off of sucking on the treadmill.
Yeah. No, it's great. Anything else worth
No.
mentioning?
No, those are the only things. I'm sorry. I guess I'm still an Overwatch 2 fanboy. That's why I said I don't play many shooters. Overwatch is kind of my exception, and I'm still all over that game. And right now they've got an event going where you can get My Hero Academia skins, and I'm that kind of nerd as well. So it really is my catnip.
Very cool. So I've been on a journey this past month through the Metal Gear Solid franchise. I've never played these games before. I've only heard these are legendary games that I must play, and so last year I actually did. So last year it's like, oh, let me buy. I bought this collection on PS3, and I tracked down the Vita, and I got the PS3 Super Slim, and then I ended up procrastinating, and the collection comes out for Switch. So I got that. for $20. So that's where I actually started my journey. So I played 1, 2, and 3 on Switch, and then so just first off, Metal Gear Solid 1. Oh boy, did that take some just powering through to enjoy the controls as much as I can and the visuals. But oh boy, what an experience that game is even today. The voice acting is still up to quality with 2024 voice acting. That's like, wow, they were doing this back in 99 or whatever this was. It's like, whew. And crazy good boss fights, even though the controls made me want to go crazy at times.
It's funny to think of how good the voice acting is in that game when you consider that game was barely 2 years behind, or maybe 3 years behind Resident Evil 1. And boy, if that game does not have some bad voice acting.
Yeah, no, I mean it's incredible what they're like. Kojima, like, he wants to make video game / movies as a thing, and like you could see those inclinations even with that first one. And it's like, okay, I get this. And some of the cool things, like, with the move the controller port to 2, it's like some of the stuff doesn't work quite as well on Switch. But I could see what they're going for. It's like, well, that's really cool, and yeah,
It was pretty cool in the '90s. Let me tell you.
I can imagine.
Thank you. I'm Tim. I actually, other than Metal Gear Solid 1, which was a friend pass and play type of situation, I actually don't enjoy the Metal Gear games. I wish I did. That's actually kind of the case with everything Kojima makes. I wish I liked it more. I appreciate what he does for the art and everything, but his games themselves just miss for me. On the other hand, Psycho Mantis with the controller port and reading the memory card, it felt like outright wizardry in the 90s. Oh my god.
Set down your controller to vibrates. It's like, ooh, I can move it with that still works, yeah. On Switch it didn't work in handheld mode that well though. But yeah, by the end of it I was so attached to these characters and the story, and like I was drawing, and then going to 2, which is an HD remaster that Bluepoint did, was like, whoa, graphically this is like 2 generations ahead. Because it's like the PS2 is a big leap forward with PS1. This was only released like 2 years later, and then it was the HD remaster from that. And 2 blew my mind. It was like a fortune teller Kojima. I won't spoil anything, but the ending of that game, playing that in 2024 is like, what the hell is Kojima spoken to have this kind of foretelling of how the internet will have all these kind of like these you're in your own little ecosystem and everything's the truth in your own world, and whoa boy, is that more true than ever. It's like, oh my god, so wild. This stuff would probably not have rung as true back when people played it originally, but these days it's like, wow, this game's like amazing for that. Yeah.
He turned fairy tale into reality, or I guess managed to make reality seem like a fairy tale.
Something like that, yeah. So yeah, so 2 I freaking love. The gameplay was fun. I loved playing as Raiden that everyone hated back in the day. And then while playing it, I had inclinations as to who other characters might be. It's like I was right on those, which is cool. Then jump into 3. Big time jumper back in this first game of the series, and I was very confused. Isn't this the same character? And you learn there's cloning involved in the series, which okay, yeah. But anyways, gameplay wise, really enjoyed it. I was slightly annoying with all the healing and stuff you needed to. I'll be curious with Delta, this remake coming out next year, how annoying that stuff will be, or if they'll make it slightly less menu. You're just living in menus while you clean stuff up. Robbie, do you have memories of 3 with like living in menus to heal and stuff?
So here's the thing. I'm like very strange with this series. I have played completely independently 1 and 4, which is very strange. But I have watched.
I would hate to go to 4 without playing the other ones.
No, I've watched people play them.
Okay,
so.
Gotcha.
I watched my friend buy 3 on release day, and I sat and watched him. He like plugged it in at like like I don't know, like 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And then we were up all night long.
The
We watched the sunrise.
The bosses in 3 are wild and so cool. And
Yeah,
there's
very
things
compelling.
like things like, you know, save your game and come back a week later and one of the bosses will be dead because he's so old. It's like this guy is just wild. This Kojima, you know. And yeah, yeah, three you appreciate more and more the more you get into the other games as well. It's just the brilliance of the series. As I'm playing, it's like, oh, when I replay this again, I'll just have found appreciation for everything, and I might play in a different order. So, yeah, moving from 3, you go to 4, which is the final game of the timeline, and that game is just bonkers. Like the cutscenes, you'll spend 90 minutes just watching a little movie here. The gameplay, I rather enjoyed how each act kind of felt like a different game almost. Like, you know, the first game's like a military shooter, then like you're playing like the opening, the Mission Impossible 1 almost, like as you're following this guy around and this kind of and then there's just the story-wise, they just pull everything from the first 3 games in this very satisfying like conclusion. That's
Isn't
just
Metal-
like
Isn't Metal Gear Solid 4 also the one that when you say they pull all the story, they pull it all together and they put it to you as long movies constantly?
Yes.
Isn't 4 more watching than it is playing at times, it feels?
Absolutely, especially the later half of the game. They're long gameplay sessions, but probably longer movie sessions that you can thankfully pause, which you can't pause Peace Walker cutscenes, sadly. On PS3, on Vita, you can just sleep the system, that'll pause it, but
PS3 won't let you kick out to menu and pause it?
not on Peace Walker.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, which they aren't as long on Peace Walker, thankfully, but yeah, that was a thing that came up as I was playing. But 4, I was like in tears by the end of that game. That was like just such an emotional kind of ride and crazy post credits. Like there's post credits and mid credits scenes. Like that's another thing. Like, oh, all these games have like post credit scenes. Like this is the thing he was doing back then. It's like very cool. And I love in 4 the camouflage. How like in 3 you're constantly changing your camouflage, so you're blending in properly, and there's a little percentage meter. In 4, your suit adapts to the environment, which is like, yes, this is great. And him being old was also a fun thing, and all the characters being old is like, when I'm in like 20 years, I'm gonna relate to this game in all sorts of new ways, I'm sure. And like his rapid aging thing is just like,
Oh, you two suffer rapid
really-
aging?
that's a really creative way where you're not jumping a bunch of years in the timeline, but having this just cool cloning quirk or whatever.
Have you played
So,
5 yet?
I booted 5. So then Peace Walker was my next one, right? So I started it on the Vita, and it's like, this is really hard to control. And I booted up the PS3 version, the HD remaster. It's like, hey, this is really beautiful on PS3. It's really nice having both sticks you can use and the better controls and stuff. So I played the majority of it on PS3, Peace Walker. This is a direct sequel to 3. This is as Big Boss is kind of building up his army and stuff in Outer Heaven. It's that story of him going from the end of 3 to the villain. Big Boss is a villain, but up until now, I really haven't seen him as a villain because I guess those are Metal Gear 1 and 2. Is that right, Robbie? Do you know like the NES, the old?
I haven't
games?
played them.
Okay, from my understanding, is like you really see him as a villain in the older games before the Solid games. But anyways, Peace Walker, it's a really, really good game. It's like the longest game too, by far, which is wild to me because it's the portable game. So the actual campaign took me 14 hours of just like avoiding all the extra content, and that's about on par longer than I spent with the other games. There's no difficulty level on Peace Walker. It's just one difficulty mode for everybody, which is probably because this game is also co-op. You can play the whole game with friends online, which is really cool, or locally, I think.
Are you planning to try and platinum the ones that do have trophies as you're playing through them?
No, I'm playing on easy mode because I'm a wimp, especially with these older games.
Hey, older games were exceptionally obtuse in controlling, especially.
Yeah, so it's like, no, I just want to experience the story and, get a grasp of the gameplay. And maybe my next time through, I'll bump the difficulty. Every time through, I'll just make it a little bit harder and see how it goes. But after beating the game, Peace Walker, I evaluate the controls a bit more, and it's like I turn on shooter mode on the Vita. It's like, oh, I can use the face buttons to control the camera, and it's actually controlling really nice. I took out like a tank battle on the Vita, and that felt great. So the controls I'm learning to adapt on Vita because, the end game on Peace Walker is a hell of a lot of fun. All these little missions that are designed for portable play, where you can spend 10 minutes on a mission and be done, or even less depending on the mission. And I think this will be a great companion this holiday season as I'm traveling and stuff to have the Vita, get through Peace Walker. And there's a lot of post-game stuff, which is really compelling. And I think I'll be playing this for a while alongside MGS5, which I did boot up the other day. So I just did the opening 5-10 minutes as you get into the story of that. I think it's like a 2-hour prologue game before you get into the actual 5 proper. Is that right?
Something like that, yeah.
But the characters in that prologue are directly from Peace Walker. And the little mission briefings and synopsises you can load up is like, here's the Peace Walker story. So it's like, yeah. And I think when Kojima was initially pitching Peace Walker, he was calling it Metal Gear Solid 5. So in my mind, Peace Walker is part of the core lineage of these games. And it's a shame they didn't just call it 5. Then we had Metal Gear Solid 6 on PS4. But 5 I'm excited to dive into because... it's a continuation of Peace Walker, but in a graphically improved way.
Based on what I know about your gaming taste and that game, I have a feeling you're going to really dig it.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into and I can finally get off the PS3 and play on my PS5 Pro to finish this out. So, it's been a wild. I've been basically mainlining these like one a week. I've been basically burning through each of these games. I finished Peace Walker in like 3 or 4 days because I was trying to get it done before family got back from travels, and trying to play them on PS3 for longer sessions. More conducive that way. So, it's been a wild journey. If you have not played Metal Gear Solid games, start from the beginning, play them through as they're released in order, and you'll have a good old time. And the story, playing them back to back, everything's still fresh in my mind. So all the references to other games are like, it's great. It's great. Play in easy mode if you're frustrated with dying too much or whatnot, because these are stealth games. But if you want on easy mode, you can just kind of play it as an action game. Especially 3, I noticed. You can just run out of that area and they forget you were discovered, kind of thing.
I have to say, though, I'm actually surprised you're having difficulty as somebody who, I know you. I remember when you were terrible at games, but you have actually, you've put yourself through some rigors. I mean, you are souls born and souls forged that I got to say, I'm surprised that Metal Gear is giving you a little bit of a trip up.
Well, I mean, on easy, I haven't tried it on anything but easy mode, so I'm not sure what the hard difficulties will be like. I just knew, like, the PS1 game, I don't want to deal with any of the shenanigans, and I kind of just kept that way because I want to just get through and enjoy the story. And I've just been doing easy. And then Peace Walker was the first one that was like, oh, there's no difficulty levels. And there were some battles in Peace Walker, because I think they're designed for co-op play, where... It's like I was spending like 90 minutes trying to take down this mech. It's like, oh, this is like an endurance race. I was running out of ammo in some runs where it's like, oh god, I got to start this whole hour-long thing all over again because I screwed up. Yeah.
Is our first recording an appropriate time for me to say my spicy take on game difficulty?
Yeah. Go ahead for it.
Okay. We can just go here. I don't think that games should have difficulty options unless
Like Bloodborne and all those games. don't have.
unless it's for accessibility or for kids playing with you.
Yeah,
There, I
that's
said
fair. I mean, that's fair. Like that's why people love the FromSoft games in one way. It's like this is the difficulty, and you gotta adapt to it. But
It's fair until you get to certain. There are just certain games that you should still be able to enjoy the game even if you aren't capable of doing a portion of it.
right,
Right. Yeah. That's the thing is like, where's the line between that and accessibility? Because like,
Yeah,
there's
no,
thing-
that's and I know what you mean. But I guess like, I'm myself trying to think of a really good example because like I guess if Tim mentioning the Bloodborne and Demon Souls, you know, they have no real difficulty, but they also do. But that's they're hard from the very beginning, but not every game should have to be hard from the very beginning. It's okay to create easier games to ease into.
I think those games should be like, I think like how easy or hard a game is not necessarily what defines my taste in it as much as like that your game is designed with like a consistency and a balance to it that feels like, you know, like you had an opinion or made a statement when you released it. I guess what I'm saying is like there are games where like unless you play on a certain difficulty, this is I've heard this about like The Witcher 3, which I for a long time wanted to play and never have gotten to, but I've heard that like unless you play it on a harder level difficulty, there's like mechanics of the game that the game does not even like demand you learn or engage
like
with at all.
playing GoldenEye on the lower levels, you just aren't given different mission parameters to try to complete. Right? It's just like
that's my understanding is that there's like some interesting like potion mixing and stuff that you can do in the game, but that you would never have to touch if you were just like hacking your way through. Which for a lot of people is satisfying because the story and the narrative is so good. But for me, I'm like isn't like I don't know enough about like Witcher lore, but I feel like the potiony thing is like kind of part of the Witcher lore, I think. So like to me, I'm like, okay, I would prefer the game to force me to engage with that without needing to like think about how hard I want it to be, I guess is what I'm saying.
Sure.
Anyway, I don't die on that hill. I sometimes the one thing I'll say is that also got me in a recent game is I was playing I played through a bunch of the Persona stuff last year, and I forget which one it was, but there was
I started normal and I was on Persona 5 Golden. I just had to drop it the easy. It's like I'm this is so frustrating.
Well, for me, here's the crazy thing is I was stuck on a boss. I can't remember which one it was, but so I never went to easy, but there was a boss fight that was so imbalanced. But I was reading the threads, you know, on the internet, and one of them was like, so if you are like in merciless mode, the mechanic of like how the enemies take their turns is this, and this fixes the problem with why this boss is so unpredictable and imbalanced and difficult to beat. So go to merciless mode for this one boss so that you can like get all the enemies on your turn, which eliminates I forget the exact mechanics of it, but it works. And it was like, so I have to go into the hardest mode of the game to beat this one thing. And my
That's
ego,
kind of funny.
I know. I was like, my ego was like, well, I'm going into the hardest mode, so I certainly did not make it easier for myself. But it's like, you know, come on, make it better.
Wild.
That is funny.
Should I say a few games here?
Yeah.
So I've been playing the new Sonic generations because I'm a Sonic boy. I ride with Sonic through all of the times. And I also here's another spicy take. I'm like kind of a Sonic peaked in the '90s guy. Like I really enjoyed Sonic Adventure 1 when the Dreamcast came out.
What about Lost World?
Are you serious?
No, I'm joking.
There's been like there's been some bright spots in the Sonic 3D catalog.
Sure.
But I think like in Sonic Generations being one of them, and I had no reason to really repurchase this game on a modern console. Other than that, I was hearing the Shadow stuff was good.
Shadow, which
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Shadow. He seems like a newbie.
He's
imposter.
right. He does seem that way if you grew up with Sonic in the '90s. And I'm like, this guy is in his own movie sometime in the next several
past
months.
Knuckles is shenanigans. It's
So I
just
was
those
like-
three. I don't know this pink one. I don't know what the pink one's there for. But
Yeah. But I was thinking to myself, like, maybe I should give this Shadow guy a chance since I'm going to go see his movie. So I bought the game. I heard the Shadow content was good. It actually is it's a pretty well put together game as far as the 3D Sonic game goes. I will say Sonic Generations is some good fun.
did you watch the Paramount Plus TV show yet?
The Knuckles one?
Yeah.
No, but I really enjoyed the first two movies.
Okay. I heard good things about the TV show.
I've only seen the first movie myself, which I very much enjoyed. Me and both my daughters loved that movie.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. My ideal Sonic 3D game is like, have you played that really short Mario Bowser game that was bundled with the
Yeah.
re-release of?
Yep.
Yeah, this idea of that you have these like platforming levels, but they're like seamlessly integrated into the sandbox, more open kind of space. To me, that's like the ideal, because like Sonic Frontiers, which came out a year or two ago, still has this like these portals you go into that take you into the like so-called like real Sonic stages, and then you're otherwise just sort of running around a soulless, big giant like sandbox. And the bosses were pretty cool, but to me, I'm like, Sonic seems like a good candidate for this prototype of like, what if you could somehow get like the zones sort of more seamlessly built into the giant 3D map. That would be cool. Sonic Generations, though, really not a bad 3D Sonic game. I've been doing Souls stuff. Dark Souls 3 I finished back in late September, early October. That was like the time of my life. I don't think I've ever had a better time playing a game.
That's great.
You've been playing the Souls games. Have you played Bloodborne?
I've done Bloodborne. So I've done Dark Souls 1, 3, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, and now I'm doing Demon Souls.
Okay. Yeah. The most memorable of all the games I experienced was Sekiro, because I played it when I was like deathly ill, and I could focus on that game, and I was good enough for that. But yeah, no distractions for like a few days. I just could spend hours on a boss fight and like.
I played the first
yeah.
hour or two of that game. It scares me so much. It's so hard.
There
but
are some wild moments in that game, but
Yeah.
yeah, you really need so much focus.
I'm gonna get back into that one eventually. I'd like to
Yeah,
play
it's
Dark Souls 2 first.
Yeah, I love Dark Souls 2. But yeah, Demon Souls did you ever play this on PS3? Is this your first time through it?
No, I know Elden Ring was my first one.
Oh yeah.
Then you're in
Isn't
for a
this thing
treat.
beautiful?
It's sort of very beautiful.
Demon Souls, the remake that they made for PlayStation 5 is wonderful. And I'll be honest with you, my preferred games in the entire genre are Bloodborne and Demon Souls. Demon Souls because it's, the first big one of these that they made, even though they didn't really get popular until Dark Souls. Mm-hmm. And Bloodborne because I just love the Lovecraftian horror to it all.
Yeah. Bloodborne is such a weird game where that goes.
There have been none of them that I haven't loved. I would say Dark Souls 1 is the one I connected with like deeply the most. Beyond, like, it's got some moments that are not very fun to play as a game,
You
and
don't
it's
like
very.
going through the swamp?
But you know what it is for me is like the game was easy until I got to the two dudes in the middle of the game, and then I got stuck for an entire week, and then the whole rest of the game was easy. So like,
Yeah. One of my most memorable experiences with Dark Souls 1 was I got invaded when I was down in what's the poison swamp?
yeah, what is that called?
It's famous, this place. But I got invaded and I knocked that sucker out. And it was so sad. It's so sad when you get invaded and you kill. You just like
That really was. It was a terrifying mechanic when they first introduced it, but it is so just core to the game experience of the Souls games now.
it is. Yeah, it's so satisfying when you defeat an invader because they're coming in thinking they're all that.
Dark Souls 1 is definitely like the series is the game that I've sort of like that I look at as like the defining one that that is like given me like I almost it's almost like a spiritual practice. I don't know if that sounds ridiculous to say, but like Dark Souls 1, like the sense of space in the game and exploration and like desperation for a bonfire and then finally getting one and then realizing how interconnected the world is.
Yeah.
None of the other ones quite have that, although the other ones do have more gratifying boss fights for sure.
Right. Those archers in Anderlando can go die, though. I mean, let's figure out.
They're awful. When I got back to that area in Dark Souls 3, I was like, please not again.
Yeah.
Please not
I
again.
picked up it on Switch because I played it on, I think, PlayStation originally. And it runs well on Switch, that remaster. And, that's terrifying that they're in 3. I just started that game. I'm still early on.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Am I spoiling? I thought you had finished 3.
I assume they would be in there. No, 3 is the only one I've not finished.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
But all good on that. Yeah, I'm sure. I've heard it's very similar to 1 as far as a lot of the things you experience in that. I always go in with strength builds for these games. Are you too similar?
Yeah, I like in all the Dark Souls ones. I did a quality build. I did a faith strength build for most of Elden Ring.
Okay.
Okay, I'm terrible about terminology, but I'm relatively certain with what you just said. Faith strength. Faith is what controls the magics in the game, right? Or most of them.
Well, I don't know if it's the same in all of them. And Elden Ring is the only one where I've put any points into it.
I do generally. I'll go strength or I try to put into magic wherever I can, whatever they call it in whatever game. I want as much of that as I can get my hands on.
So my Demon Souls run so far has been the most magical Souls run I've done.
That's the way
so
to
far.
do that game. Just
Yeah.
Be a wizard.
And the advanced magic spells are so much more amazing.
It's almost broken in that game how powerful the magic is. It's great.
But the whole game is broken, so all you're doing is balancing it back to your favor.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, I love people say that it's too OP. It's like, I'm going to take advantage of whatever system that is in there. I'll farm.
Yes.
I'll do all the cheesy farms I want.
Mm-hmm.
Bloodborne, you can really cheese that game with the building your own. What were they call them? There's the way you can build your own little stadiums that you can enter.
Oh, yeah. Again, I'm horrible with terminology like this. Unless I'm actively playing a game, I'm not going to remember the right word.
You can enter these community-built places where you can do all sorts of crazy farming in that game.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So I'm having a great time with those. Obviously, the PS5 is very new to me, so the first thing I knew I wanted to do was play Astrobot. I saw the credits roll. There's a lot more bots to collect, but I'm going to do it with my kid because he thinks it's pretty cute. So,
my daughter, who's 2, she hasn't played any games yet, but I'll pull it up in the portal sometimes, and she's just like so taken back by the adorable bots and stuff. Like, yeah.
It's a really fun game. Other lighter things I played. The new Zelda game on the Switch, Echoes of Wisdom.
Yeah.
That was a pretty fun playthrough. I'm doing Paper Mario now, which is a little tedious, but certainly a nice chill time.
Mm-hmm. I'm stuck in the Zelda game. I'm not stuck. I've just put on pause for a bit. I'm like the second. I'm at the Zora place right now.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I'm early on still, but that game's it's so much fun learning from Breath of the Wild the way they did, or Tears, where you're building stuff. It's so cool.
More than anything, it's nice to finally have Zelda be the protagonist in a game named after her.
Totally.
And in a worthwhile way, not in the same manner as, for example, Princess Peach was the first time she was in a game with her little umbrella glidey game.
Yeah, I totally thought Zelda was Link as a kid.
I have a shirt that has a very angry Link on it, and it says, "Call me Zelda one more time."
Because I totally did as a kid. I didn't understand what was going on, really. And Astrobot, DualSense, is that blowing your mind how well that's done?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's like other games that use it, but it just makes pretty much everything else I played on the PS5 feel not like it belongs on the platform. Like,
Right. Yeah.
I hear
Returnal's
that.
the other big one for DualSense.
I hear Horizon does a good job with it too.
It does, yeah. And then make sure to check out the built-in Astro game. That's another.
Oh,
fun one.
I've played through most of it.
Okay, cool. And there are bots in there you can send into Astrobot as well, which is nifty.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. So I know there's a lot more to do. Lots of little. I was just discovering the little secret
Yeah.
stages and things. Some
Cool.
of which are pretty
Yeah.
tough.
They are, yeah. That final stage in Astrobot was making me angry. Anything else for what you've planned?
I mean, there's lots. I was just trying to when I wrote my list in our show.
Oh, well, actually, I'm gonna
go back too far.
I am going to
Yeah.
jump because you were actually talking about one of them and you'd put it on your list already. You had mentioned for your wife. Are you also playing Stardew Valley?
Oh yeah. I'm playing.
How do y'all like? I actually, I played Stardew Valley with my eldest daughter, and it's kind of, everybody does it differently. But she wanted to spend pretty much all of her time in the dungeon, so I'm doing the farming, she's doing the dungeon. So how do y'all do the breakdown?
It's like the most social I've treated a game ever, in the sense that we're just like hanging with our friend on a FaceTime call when we do it. So like they're doing the kind of the farming and the mining, and I'm just trying to like hook up with all the women in town. And
And my youngest daughter, who didn't play with my oldest daughter and she played on her own, like, she has maxed relationship status with everybody in the town. And I can't hardly name anybody but Cecil, the guy who digs in the trash.
yeah, I'm like going into town and like giving people gifts and stuff, and they're like, "Stop hanging out with Haley. She's the meanest one. Come help us farm."
So you give her a bigger gift, right?
Right. So I'm like, well, what kind of flowers does she like again? Where do I find those? I also like the fishing. I'm very bad at the fishing,
Okay,
but it's
I was going to ask, because like video games, especially when there's a fishing mini game, they usually go from bad to terabad. And the fishing mini game in Stardew Valley, I'm the only one in my family that likes. Everybody else hates it.
I like it. It's just hard. But it's there. Do y'all have any favorite fishing mini games?
No, I actually, I am with you. I like the one in Stardew. I like the tap to it, and it's very much I do.
There are good fishing games. I don't remember which games they were in, though. Yeah.
I have currently hooked up to our main TV a Dreamcast with Sega Bass Fishing in the console and the fishing rod.
Never played a Dreamcast.
And especially with, you just mentioned you have the fishing reel
Yes.
controller. Oh, that was so great. I mean, people who weren't alive back then don't understand how great accessories
Was
like that
there
were.
a Labo fishing rod?
Yes, there was.
Yeah.
I have not put that one together.
Yeah,
That one's still in the
Labo
box.
was such a cool thing.
I wish
I wish they didn't discontinue that, because I want to buy a set to build at one point with my daughter.
Yeah, I still have the robot backpack thing in box.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, such a shame they discontinue that. Nintendo Music, I want them to release an update to that awesome app that just has a mode of playing Animal Crossing music based on my weather forecast and time of day. Like, just let me hit play and just open up to whatever it is in Animal Crossing.
You want to turn your day-to-day life into a village.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. But Nintendo Music's great. Because, like, often my family will be using my Apple Music thing that's not a family plan, which is limited to one. So it's like, oh, I got another app where I can just play music and I'm not kicking someone off, And, yeah, I love that's a really cool app there. And they've been adding music to it like once a week, which is cool. So that's been nice.
I appreciate it for the people that appreciate it, but Tim, you know me, I don't play the sound on my games. I don't.
Oh, God. We need to talk about this in the next episode. This is disturbing.
Can we actually, when we talk about that, because I have feelings on that too, can we also talk about the state of headphones and consoles?
Yes, I'm
Next
adding it
time.
to our list. State of headphones in consoles, and then Jason being stupid with music while gaming.
It's not just music. I'll wait though. I'll wait. We
yeah,
can talk
yeah,
about that
yeah, it'll
next
be a
week.
topic. Yeah, and then the fact that there's this little speaker in the DualSense that I never get to hear because I'm wearing headphones, and you need TV speakers to use the DualSense speakers, which Which is sad because Astrobot had a cool speaker thing. So yeah, I am investigating speakers for my little gaming desk at some point. So, anyways, this was a fun. I think first go about on this
Absolutely.
this introductory episode.
Absolutely, all over the place, but absolutely worth
All
it.
over the place. Any Black Friday stuff that has caught your guys' eyes? Are you skipping out? Too much backlog, anyways.
Oh, I don't. I try not to participate in Black Friday. I actively despise being involved with that. Oh my God, it hurts.
Because the deals are so good sometimes. Yeah.
Oh no.
No. Okay. Sony might get me on the right now until December 2nd. You can save 30% when upgrading PlayStation Plus tiers. It's very tempting for $50 for another year to be on premium to try this game streaming thing from my portal. So that's the thing that might tempt me.
What is that? What is the deal?
You save 30% when upgrading PlayStation Plus tiers to premium.
I wonder if there's a deal for just going straight into premium right now. Then
I don't know. Maybe. Do you not have PlayStation Plus at all right now?
actually, yeah, I do think it disappeared last month, and I just hadn't renewed it yet because
Okay.
I've been playing more on both my Switch and on my iPhone for Balatro.
Gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, if I didn't own a PlayStation 5, that slim deal is crazy. But
Yeah,
I'd be a pro customer though. Anyways, I mean that'd be.
My eldest daughter is contemplating getting a PS5 Pro Slim as well.
You mean just slim, or pro?
Did they not release a Pro Slim?
I mean it's the pro, but it's skiddier than the original launch unit.
Oh, so yeah, the Pro they didn't have a Slim. It's just the Pro, and you can buy the drive now.
Right.
Yeah. I think she is trying to get a Pro though.
Okay, not a slim. Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Some good deals out there. So, anyways, Robbie, where can folks follow you on the interwebs?
Yeah, everything I do can be found linked to robbieburns.com. I've got a blog and a podcast called Music Ed Tech Talk, which probably does not appeal to anyone who is not working in any of those three spaces, but that's where I am. I'm on all the social platforms in the sense that I lurk them. I don't post too much to any of them lately, and I try to avoid going to them as much as possible. But yet,
Sure.
my accounts are live and exist on them all.
Very cool. What is you, Jason?
Well, I actually don't have much of a social or media presence in general, but Risen Devil is my PSN ID, and I would put my long string of characters and numbers for my Nintendo Network ID, but I'm really hoping that Nintendo is going to make that easy for me with the Switch 2, and then I'll be Risen Devil there too.
Wait, is
Very
that
cool.
what you meant by where can people find me? Because this is a game show.
I mean, that's one place if you'd like to include that. Yeah.
I'm just used to doing other things with you on the internet, Tim. So
I know,
that's
right?
just like
Yeah.
my usual answer to that.
Yep. Yeah, all good. And then my handle's TCHATN everywhere. I'm a Mastodon mainly. And then that is my handle for PSN and Xbox, which is expired probably, but my account's still open, I'm sure. I don't know. Yeah. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll be back next month. We're doing this monthly at the current kind of release schedule, so we'll be back next month for our December episode. So thank you for listening or watching.
Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.